In this video, we're going to learn how to use forms for drafted parts. Hey everyone, this is Matt with Learn Everything About Design, and in this video, we're going to take a look at using the forms tools, but in this case, we're going to use forms to create a drafted part. Now, we've done a lot with forms on this channel. Obviously, there's a whole Fusion Forms Mastery series with a bunch of different videos, but we haven't specifically talked about draft yet. So I want to get started by creating a new form body, and we're just going to use a standard box. And just pick a plane that you want, create a center point box, and we'll just leave everything as is. Don't worry about symmetry, don't worry about anything else. We're going to make some adjustments to this box so it's not completely horizontal in the center. So just grab the middle and we'll pull it up. With that middle edge selected, I'm going to go ahead and insert edges on both sides. I'm going to take both of these and go ahead and adjust them as well. So we have something that just has sort of a weird arc to it. So if you were making a product like this and you needed to have draft on the top and bottom, there's not really a draft option directly in Forms, but there is a way that we can sort of cheat the system. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go to Inspect, Draft Analysis. I want to select this form body, and I want to pick the direction of my pull. So this is going to be my top plane. You can see that we've already got draft and we've got a red zone. The red zone is sort of telling us where we don't have enough draft. Now I'm going to say that I want at least 1 degree of draft. So the negative draft angle is going to be -1 and the positive is going to be 1 or 1.5. It doesn't really matter for this example, but we just want to make sure we understand that there is no draft right in the middle. You can also see that this tolerance zone doesn't really match where we have the midline. So the way that we're going to approach this is we're going to double click on this edge, we're going to go to modify, and we're going to add a crease. Now adding the crease to that edge means that we now have a hard edge. We're going to go ahead and double click on it, go to modify, go to my top view. I'm going to click on scale, but I'm not going to actually drag this out because it's going to make it really drastic. And I'm just going to enter a small value of 1.01. And you can see that that pushes that midline out. It's not quite enough, so I'm going to add another 0.01 and allow it to update. And you can see here that now all of the red sections have gone away and we've got perfect draft top and bottom. But you might be thinking to yourself, well, how can I shell this and split it and actually make something that I can manufacture? Well, there's another trick to this. You can use the surfacing tools to create a sweep as a split line. And while that does work, it doesn't really give you a great level of control. What I like to do is expand the bodies folder. I'm going to select the entire body. I'm going to right click and I want to copy this body. You can do this with Control C or Command C on the keyboard, and you can also use Control or Command V to paste it. Now, the reason that I want to do this is I want an exact copy of that body. Remember, there is no history, it's not parametric here, but what we now have is an identical version of this. And the reason we want to do that is because we can double click this midline, go to modify, and we want to unweld that edge. When we unweld the edge, we now have a top version and a bottom version of these bodies. When we do that, we can take a look at them as just shelled bodies. This gives us a little bit easier time creating that parting line at the right spot, but keep in mind that when these bodies get converted, they may not be perfect. What I would do from here is thicken this inside of the forms environment. This can be done inward or outward. I'm going to say -2 millimeters. I'm going to use a sharp transition and normal and say OK. I'm going to do the same thing to the top. So we're going to select that body. We're going to go to thicken, -2 millimeters. It remembers all our settings, and we just say OK. So now if we hide one of these, you can see that we've got this nice split body. We've got these sharp edges because we use that crease option when we were thickening. And now we can convert all of these directly to solid bodies back in the design workspace. So now we have a body for the entire design, we have a body for the top, and a body for the bottom. Now obviously there's a lot more work in making sure that this thing is ready to be manufactured, but once again, we do have the appropriate amount of draft. We can select the body, we can go ahead and select the pull direction, and we want to make sure that we do take this value down in the negative range, and this one we're going to make sure that we have at least 1 degree. Now, one thing that I don't like about the draft analysis in Fusion 360 is that when we have exactly 1 degree, we will still get this red section here. If we turn on high quality, you can see that it actually grows a little bit as well. So sometimes what I like to do is go to 0.99, just a little bit less, and this will be negative 0.99. And you'll notice that if we don't have enough, we can always go back and manipulate the design back in the Forms workspace. But playing around with the Forms workspace, creasing, and simply just scaling that midline out can help you create these drafted parts. What I want to do from here is I'm going to try to take this down a little bit more, 0.9, and this will be minus 0.9, just to see where we're at and say okay. You can see that it's not really changing much, so this is something we would have to address. Now, if I were working on a part like this, and I had that issue, I would likely place the lip and groove so that it cuts away the inside of that bottom body, assuming that the top body also had enough draft. We can go ahead and add the top body to it and make sure that that has enough draft. But you can see here that in this case, let's go ahead and add the top body. In this case, you can see that the draft is not displaying, so we'd likely have to create another draft analysis. Anyways, that's a basic overview of how to use forms to create your drafted parts in Fusion 360. As always, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know, and we'll see you in the next one.